I was working for the prison service at the time. I was in the civil service. Yeah, yeah. So that was a difficult time because you can't really tell anyone, who you are in the most honest sense, because within the civil service and particularly within the prison service, the people that needed to know, who gave me the job, knew about my past. But it wasn't something that you're encouraged to talk about. In fact, you were actively encouraged not to talk about it because it was seen as a weakness, and it was seen as a kind of a point where you could be manipulated in some way. It's like being gay. In the past, if you were working in a situation or having gambling debts, it was seen as a negative. When actually I saw it as a huge positive.
Yes.
And I remember leaving the civil service and leaving the prison service, and the first thing I did was write a paper for Kathy Gingewa at the Centre for Policy Studies, and the first bit was a bit of my story. It wasn't completely accurate because my head was all over the place coming out of the civil service, but it was the first time I was able to really put out there about my recovery and about my addiction, and it felt really good. Now the whole aim is to be visible, so that not just to be anonymous or invisible, but to be visible and to be an asset. And I don't know where I sit within the spectrum of people. Some people would say anonymity is a good thing, and I part of me agrees with that, but part of me also has seen. I worked in a rehab where staff used to put a cover story together with residents so that when they leave, they don't have to disclose about their past. And I found that difficult to swallow. And when I was I did contracts for them from time to time. I went in and did little bits of work. But when they went through real difficulty and their chief exec left, and I became their chief exec for a year. And I changed lots of things, but one of the things that I changed was saying talking to residents and staff about disclosure. How do we disclose? We have not just have a duty to disclose. I mean, I've never had a job that I didn't have to disclose in, because usually if you're working for the prison service, you've got to tell them everything. Right. Or I did arrest referral for a charity, but it was within a custodial context. So again, you've got to have criminal records checks. And so teaching people how to disclose is important, because I said to them, do you really want to start your new life in recovery with a cover story, like you're a spy, that you're having to lie, because that'll have an impact later on.
I find that very strange, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand.
Well, it was a therapeutic community, and I don't think that's common, but I think what they were doing by giving a cover story is buying into the stigma, and to some degree, anonymity buys into the stigma and shame as well. We don't want to be seen, we don't want to be heard. Am I comfortable with this? And I just thought, okay, yeah, I am. If I'm going to be visible, actually, being visible is putting yourself in a vulnerable state on purpose, and it has a cost attached to it. So if I was Elton John, it'd be easy. I could talk about whatever I want, and everyone would clap and say, "You're wonderful, Elton." The fact that I'm some schmo from Henley or from London who now lives in Henley, people maybe give you a sideways glance and think maybe this guy's a risk, but the truth is, I think being visible allows others to come out of the shadows as well, if they want to. They don't have to. But yeah, I've become comfortable with it now, and I just kind of think I'm visible. If I go somewhere and they don't want to know me, that's great. We can save ourselves a lot of dancing around each other. And I can, if you don't want to work with me, great, go and work with people you want to work with. But there's usually someone lurking in the background who stays after you've told them the worst about yourself. They're still there, and you think, okay, so this could be interesting. And I've made a career on the 5 and 10% of people who stay behind, or reveal themselves as interested in, okay, I'd like to talk to you. You know, I'm going through this, or our organisation's going through that. Do you think you can help? And I usually say, I don't know. You know, let's have a look. And I do, and that puts me in a position where I do give a lot of stuff away. I do a lot of pro bono work because I'd rather be working than for nothing, than not working. You know, because if you're working and you're not getting money, you're still getting something. You're
Yes.
getting experience. You know, you're giving something.